Update. My 27 female girlfriend of 2 years won't forgive me for cheating on my ex-fiancé, 28 female, and I'm 28 male at a loss. Original post. Background. So I know the sub often quotes, once a cheater, always a cheater. I agree and disagree at the same time. I cheated on my ex-fiancé when I was 24. I had recently found out after my mother passed that she was not actually my mother, but my grandmother. My junkie sister who overdosed when I was 15 was actually my biomom. My fiancé at the time, Alma, told me that I needed to get over it because there was nothing I could do. She stopped wanting to talk to me, even if it was about her day, and I felt emasculated constantly. She refused to be intimate for months at a time, and I withdrew. We both stopped trying, but neither of us were ready to let go, as we were high school sweethearts and were afraid of being without each other. Long story short, I had a one-night stand. In the moment, it felt nice that someone was interested in my day, in me, and found me attractive. And then it felt like someone dropped a boulder on me. I told Alma immediately the day after, and we split up. I am by no means proud of myself for cheating. I felt sick to my stomach looking at myself and took a year to reevaluate my life. I moved apartments, hit the gym, ate better, tried Buddhism, and now I feel better. Alma and I even got together after the year to talk things out. She apologized for pulling away and I apologized for cheating. We forgive each other. We'll never be great friends again, but I feel better knowing that we won't cringe when we see the other person. I met my now girlfriend, Sasha, at a mutual friend's party. I got her number and we really hit it off. When we broached the conversation about past relationships, I told her what happened between me and Alma. I told her that if she had any questions or if this made her feel uncomfortable, then to let me know. She seemed fairly understanding, though she had never cheated or been cheated on, and we continued to have a wonderful relationship. We moved in together in November. Now, about the end of February, she started to become increasingly curious about the cheating. She asked me if the one-night stand that I ever talked after, if she knew I had a fiancé, if Alma wanted to try and work things out, or if I ever tried to get with other women in relationships, etc. I answered her honestly to all, and let her know that if she's concerned that I'm going to cheat again, I'll keep my electronics and such open to her. Things seemed to be alright for a bit, until I noticed that Sasha was compulsively going through my electronics. She didn't ask me any more questions regarding my infidelity, but just became very jealous and controlling. For example, 3 weeks ago I had to take my computer to the shop because it had been acting buggy. Come to find out that a keylogger of some sort had been installed in my computer. I brought this up to Sasha, and she asked why I took my computer in, that it worked fine for her, and that maybe it downloaded when I went into some adult site. Another example would be Alma messaging me on Facebook last week, wondering why I sent her and another girl from high school text messages. I had no idea what she was talking about, and she sent me screen caps from a cell phone number that's obviously mine. The texts weren't inappropriate, but obviously out of place. They just tried to strike up a conversation, but were obviously not done in my tone. Again, I asked Sasha, and she seemed genuinely clueless and baffled. I checked my online account, and it confirmed that the messages were sent from my phone. Yesterday, Sasha and I went out to celebrate her friend Danielle's promotion. When Sasha went to the bathroom, Danielle brought up cheating. She told me about his ex that cheated on her all the time and cheated in all of his relationships. Once a cheater, you know. I told her that for some people that's true, but I think once a cheater should be reflective of the relationship that someone cheated in. I always know Alma will see me as a cheater. I can't take that away, but I never want to cheat again. I never want to step into a relationship and be treated like a cheater. I explained this to Danielle without referencing my past infidelity. She laughed and told me I deluded myself, and that Sasha better keep her eye on me. Sasha came back and I excused myself and told Sasha I felt sick and wanted to go home. She wanted to stay and I said I could just Uber. So I Ubered home and watched some Netflix. Sasha came home a little tipsy and began to slyly ask if I came home immediately, or if I detoured. I asked her why she was being so distrustful, as I felt I kept communications open to her and have not given her a reason to not believe me. She went silent, then excused herself to go to bed. When I joined her, she was on her laptop and slammed it shut when I entered the room. Today, I'm fuming. I've done everything I feel I can to help alleviate any worries of cheating. I've done my best to be a better person than who I once was. I'm at a loss and don't know if this is a normal reaction when you date someone who once cheated. Is this worth salvaging with Sasha, or should I just cut and run? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Come to find out that a keylogger of some sort had been installed in my computer. That alone would be a deal breaker for me. By the way, when you run, be prepared for her to tell everybody you cheated. She sounds immature enough to do that. I guess I foolishly hoped that she was right. That somehow I had inadvertently downloaded it. The guy at the computer shop just kinda hung his head if I asked him if it was a possibility. Writing this all out with each instance really opens my eyes. Run from crazy. You cannot fix this. She has crossed so many lines. I felt that if I kept everything open and reduced the lines, then she wouldn't feel the need to cross so many. Damn, writing that all makes me recognize how wrong that was. Or should I just cut and run? Yep. She's pretending to be you and texting people from your phone and asking her girlfriends to try to get dirt on you? Not salvageable. Sorry, man. I just don't understand why she felt the need to text Alma or the other girl from my high school. I don't understand if that's insecurity or crazy. But I guess I need to create a quiet exit plan. Any tips? I don't understand if that's insecurity or crazy. It's both. Woohoo! The 2-for-1 combo. Either way, you don't want to stick around for it. As for the exit plan, what's the deal with your living situation? Own or rent? Who is on the lease? Can you kick her out and or move out easily yourself? I own my apartment. We split the pay per month. I think at this point she's considered a month-to-month tenant, so she would be given 30 days written notice. My only concern is that I feel really uncomfortable leaving anything in my apartment with her while she would move out. Maybe I'm being irrational, but I feel that if she's been this obsessive, I wouldn't put it past her to damage my things or do further damage. And now for the update. So I'm just going to sum things up because there's a lot of details, and it's great for long stories with friends. Maybe not here. Sasha told me she was going to visit her mother because there was a health emergency last week. I took her to the airport and immediately moved all essentials out of my place to a storage locker not far from it. I had my computer and phone scrubbed off key loggers and trackers. There were several in each. A good friend of mine offered me a spare room until a month is up as I had to leave a 30-day written notice for Sasha in the apartment. I decided it would be best to wait until she got home to let her know we broke up, to not distract her from her family. But the day before Sasha was supposed to fly back, I received an eerie Facebook message from Alma. Apparently for the past couple days, her home had been messed with. Someone left gates open, tore through screen doors, broke a couple pots in yard, and she felt like she was being watched. She asked if there was any chance that I or Sasha was behind all of this. It pained me to say it, but part of me thought Sasha or Danielle might be, as I had no idea where Alma currently lived. I informed her about the key logger, the trackers, and other issues. Alma asked what kind of car I drove, as she had noticed the same car driving by several times, and was now parked at the end of her block. It was not Sasha's vehicle or mine, so I assumed Danielle might be stalking Alma on Sasha's behalf while she was gone. Alma asked if I would come deal with us as she was very upset to be involved involuntarily in this issue, and to at least provide company so she wouldn't be home alone. She gave me her address and off I went. Come to find out, Sasha never boarded the plane. She bought a ticket and turned around as soon as I did. She rented a car and went to stalk Alma, probably in hopes to catch me going back to Alma, which in her eyes happened as soon as I showed up to Alma's place. I arrived and Sasha came bulldozing out of her rented car towards me. She kept screaming at me for cheating on her, that she knew I'd run back to that S-word, that the second she was gone, I couldn't keep my prick in my pants. Alma came out of her house at the sound of the screams and Sasha tried to sprint at her. Thankfully, Alma was able to get back into her home and lock the door in time, while Sasha began to hurl things around her yard. The police arrived and took everyone aside for statements. Alma showed pictures of prior damage, photos of the car parked at the end of the block, Facebook messages between me and her, and I did the same. Surprisingly, it seemed that Sasha didn't deny any of it. She even admitted to stalking Alma's Facebook enough to determine where she lived based on photos. The worst moment was when they put Sasha in the police car. She looked me dead in the eyes and told me that what she did it for me and our love together. We will be together, she swears. The police officer apologized and said I should start looking into a restraining order ASAP. So that's what I've been doing this week. I think I want to be single for some time now. That is so unsettling. I'm glad you and Alma are safe. You should talk to her about also looking into getting a restraining order for herself against Sasha. I'm not sure what Alma's plans are right now, but we're both refraining from further contact from each other. She's removed herself from Facebook, and that's all I know. Can you ask the officers you spoke to if they could bring it up with her? This is so out of nowhere for her that I wouldn't be surprised if needing to take that action hasn't occurred to her. and she is absolutely still in danger from Sasha. I for sure will. I'd like to think Alma would take action, but you're right given how quickly this all came to a head. Sounds like she needs some serious help. I think you and Alma both need to look into home security systems. Way ahead of you. I've never been so scared of someone much tinier than me, but I feel awful that she followed Alma. Dude, wow. Tell Alma to get some security cameras. If she's this cuckoo, this won't be the last you hear from her. Now for the last story. Found ovulation tests, but we don't plan on having kids and have protected intimacy. Is she cheating? Plus update. Original post. So a week ago I opened our closet and noticed that the box where we keep our bedroom toys looked different. I looked inside and noticed there were 3 things missing. Asked my girlfriend about it. She said she didn't know anything about it. Somewhat later she then said she took them out and put them somewhere else. When I asked her where, she said she forgot where and she would search for them. When I asked her again yesterday, she got angry and said she had no time for looking and was dodging questions. Today I searched for myself. Didn't find them, but I found some ovulation tests. We don't plan to have kids. Is there any other reason that she's using these tests? Like medical reasons? She has a history of HPV. Or is she cheating? She's not at home right now and I'm getting crazy, so I'm asking here before I look like an idiot when I'm asking her tonight. Edit. I should have mentioned that we haven't been intimate for about a month now, and I found these tests in her backpack she uses when she's sleeping at friends. When I tried to talk to her calmly about the toys, she got really angry fast and left the room. And about asking to friends, half the time I don't even know at which friend's house she is. When I ask her, she says stuff like, some girls I met at soccer practices or at a party. Last Sunday when I asked her where she's going, she misspoke the name of a friend that I know. She then told me that she always called her that name. I never heard her call her friend that, so that's weird too. Now for the top advice before reading the update. She might just be tracking her cycle. I do that and I'm not planning a pregnancy. Quite the opposite. Knowing when I'm ovulating helps me avoid a window of fertility. And in general, I just want to get acquainted with my cycle. If you feel you're going crazy, you should ask her, but please go about it as calmly as you possibly can. I understand, but we haven't been intimate for a while now, and it's weird that she hid them in a backpack under the bed. That doesn't matter. You said it's been a month. She might have had a private moment where her period was different or late last time, which would be a month ago. And she might have wanted to add in an extra layer of protection by knowing the next time she's ovulating. Maybe it's so she can see if it connects to mood. Maybe it's to make sure she doesn't have intimacy during that window. Maybe it has something to do with how she's taking care of her reproductive system. Either way, this information is useful for her knowledge of her own body, and that isn't something that should be viewed so negatively. She may want to know if she's even fertile. She also could want to start having unprotected action and not risk pregnancy. Edited to add. After reading the edits, her behavior sounds suspicious. Could be out of context, but they also could be red flags. I don't know, the ovulation tests are particularly suspicious, but the rest of what you said is. Bedroom toys went missing and she's the only other person with access to them, yet can't explain where they went, and she gets angry when you bring it up. She stays over at other people's houses you don't know and they are just some friends she met. Maybe that's a cultural thing, but kind of weird where I'm from. I'm a believer in trusting your gut. If her behavior suddenly change, you think she acts suspicious, and you suddenly stop having as much intimacy as normal, those are pretty classic signs of cheating. Also, he added in a comment that spending the night with friends just started a month ago, at the same time that the intimacy stopped. And now for the update. Hours ago, my now ex-girlfriend came home, and after reading the comments on my post, I felt like a paranoid idiot, so I decided to drop it. She acted really weird when she came home, and I noticed that she had something in her hand when she came out of the toilet and went to our bedroom. Immediately, my inner alarm went off, and as soon as she left the bedroom, I was looking for what she's hiding. I found a used ovulation test, and another package with one pill that was missing under her pants under a pillow. I took a picture, and after searching the name from the package on Google, it's an emergency contraceptive called AITA. I was freaking shocked and disgusted when I read that, and I still am. So I immediately went to her and asked about the toys again, and why there are these ovulation tests under her bed. Before she could lie to me, I just told her that I know that she just took that pill. She started freaking laughing. So I told her that this is absolutely not fun in any way. She told me to leave her alone, but I was so mad that I just asked her the same freaking questions until she started crying. She accused me of hacking her phone, that I was spying on her, that I'm the bad one, until she finally told me the truth. About a month ago, she messaged one of her coaches on Instagram because of some sport lotion, and where to get it and all. They exchanged numbers, kept chatting, and started to meet. So the sleepovers were indeed them hooking up. When I asked about the toys, she just said that I would know where they are, and she had a test because they did it without protection. She now wants me to leave the apartment, and told me that she already had legal advice weeks ago, and that I have 1 month to leave because I'm just a subtenant. Knowing that she already planned this makes me so incredibly sick. She's gone now, and I feel like I'm dead. I'm not sad or angry. I just feel nothing right now. 5 years wasted for nothing. How can someone be this freaking cold? I just don't understand. We moved about 2 years ago to a different city because she wanted to study here. I don't have friends here where I can live until I find something. I don't have a family and 1 month to find a home in one of the busiest cities in Germany. I never thought that I'd get cheated on. I'm not perfect, but I don't think that I deserve this. She's a different person to me, and it makes me crazy. I'm writing this and hoping it helps me see clearer. It feels like a dream. And for all the people who read this have similar suspicions, don't ask the sub for advice. The comments made me almost drop this matter. Trust your gut and don't rely on people who don't know the full picture or are biased. Because in hindsight, there were so many red flags, but I was just too dumb to see it. I don't care if I misspelled something. I just want to give an update and maybe clear my head a little. I'm going for a walk now and hope that tomorrow will look different. Am I the a-hole for telling my in-laws exactly where my husband was when I was in labor? I gave birth to my son 10 weeks ago. I went through an exhausting period while I was nearing my due date. I was experiencing discomfort and wanted my husband by my side when I go into labor. But he'd go out every night to hang out at his friend's place and watch football games. I suggested that he play/watch games at home just in case, but he was having none of it and said he had to attend game night at his brother and friend's place, along with his buddies. He said they had certain, how can I describe it, rituals when watching a game, but he can't enjoy doing it at home or anywhere else. The night of our son's birth, my water broke while my husband was at his buddy's place watching a game. I called him and told him to get home and take me to the hospital. It said he was coming, but he didn't. I ended up calling my sister and she took me to the hospital. My husband showed up 2 hours later after he kept calling asking if I was still in labor and that he was almost done watching the game. He was able to make it on time for our son's birth, but I was furious with him, mad and disappointed. He apologized profoundly and has been working on regaining my trust and respect for him after what he's done. He is otherwise very supportive and involved in our son's care. Last night, I was at my in-laws' house for dinner, and we were talking about my son's birth date. My husband suddenly started recalling what happened that night, and basically started lying about driving me to the hospital, waiting and feeling stressed out, and standing on his feet for so long without food or even water. I was confused. I said, no, none of this was true. None of this happened. In fact, he was watching a game when I went into labor, and I wanted him to drive me to the hospital, but he didn't show up till 2 hours later. My mother-in-law, who takes no nonsense from anybody in whom everyone fears, lost it on him, yelling asking him if that was true, and he kept quiet. He started berating him left and right, telling him to sit down and shut up when he stood up to argue, then told him to stand up when he was sitting arguing. Everyone was laughing at how she basically treated him as if he was a boy in trouble. She kept saying, shame, shame, shame on you. This is not how I raised my children to treat their wives. Jordan, you are a disgrace, and I'm disappointed because of what I heard from you. He literally swallowed every bit of his mother's berating, and didn't say anything till we got home, where he went nuts saying and made him look neglectful. A bad husband and father by telling the family about where he was, and said I shouldn't have said anything. But I argued it wasn't okay for him to lie and play hero in front of his parents. He said I just caused a rift between him and family, and asked if I was happy now. Am I the a-hole? Should I have not said anything? Added to say that he has done similar things in the past since he's a major enthusiast of football and hockey, but I didn't expect it to get to that. Also, this is not our first baby together. We have a 4-year-old son. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hole. You didn't make him look like anything. He did. Truth hurts. Maybe next time he will do what he should and not act like a child. Not today, Hole. You said that he's working on regaining your trust, but by lying about his refusal to be there for you, he took a major step back in his attempt to be more trustworthy. Your mother-in-law is awesome, though. Your husband got exactly what he deserved. I love the mother-in-law here. Wow. Just wow. Not today, Hole. Husband is absolutely 100% an a-hole for 1, not driving his wife to the hospital when she went into labor, 2, waiting until the game was over to get to the hospital, and 3, lying about it to his family. This would honestly make me question divorce. This is bad. At the very least, marriage counseling would be a must. His argument was that my sister's house was 15 minutes away and thought she'd take me, then he'll follow. Not today, Hole, and I'm sorry, but it sounds like you have deeper issues than him just going to his friend's house to watch football. He doesn't have respect for you, and unfortunately it shows clearly. After his mom put him in his place, which I fully support and think was on the right, he went back home to scream at you and berate you for telling her the truth? At this point, his relationship with his mom shouldn't be your concern. It should be his lack of interest in you and your child, which was clearly shown by him not even showing up to take you to the hospital. I don't believe that saying to you to leave him will do anything, but you do need therapy ASAP. And if he doesn't want any, that's your full answer. You're a mother now and need to put your child's well-being before your husband's. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for punishing my husband for throwing away my dinner? To preface, my husband 33 and I 29 have been together for 4 years. He's vegan and I'm not. He cooks for himself and I cook for myself since he doesn't eat meat products. Last night, I prepared dinner and sat on the couch to eat and watch TV. I heard my phone ring upstairs and went to answer it as it was an important call. I got caught up in the conversation and didn't realize I spent 6 minutes on the phone. I went downstairs after the call ended and saw my husband sitting on the couch. I looked past him and saw my dinner plate was gone. I looked around asking if he touched it. I decided he dumped the food in the trash can because it looked like it was left on the coffee table for a long time, and there was bad smell coming out of it, almost like the meat was rotting inside, and said that while making a disgusted face. I was floored. I yelled at him, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I just prepared dinner for myself and was about to eat but had to take a 6-minute phone call and come back. He said he didn't know food was fresh since he was in his office working, but still insists there was weird smell coming from the plate. I said it was none of his concern, and he should have left it alone. But he defended himself, saying it wasn't his fault his eyes got tired of working and wanted to watch TV. But I decided to leave meat laying around for him to feel disgusted, knowing how he reacts to being exposed to meat products. He started making gagging sounds, then went on about the living room being mutual space and that I disrespected him by leaving meat around. I mentioned that he always eats his food in the living room, sometimes the bedroom even. He said, "So you're saying you're disgusted with my cooking?" I asked if he was disgusted with mine, but he explained that his problem was me leaving meat on display with total lack of consideration for his health. We got in a big argument that I went upstairs and refused to do the dishes, after he reminded me since that's my part of chores. True. He ended up doing them himself and started complaining I was punishing him for what happened by making him do the dishes with his injured, he had an accident, hand. I said since his injured hand threw my dinner away, then it can do the dishes just fine. But he said I'm violating the deal and not sticking to my part of chores. Am I the a-hole? I'm thinking maybe he was right and that the living room is shared space and I shouldn't have left meat there. Not the a-hole. Your husband sure is. I understand that he's not thrilled with you eating meat. However, he behaved in a childish and petty manner. What he did was both wasteful and disrespectful. There is no way he would have allowed meat to sit around for days, thus allowing it to rot and smell bad. He knew you were a meat eater prior to marriage. If he had a problem with it, he shouldn't have gotten married. Honestly, I haven't eaten meat for 10 plus years, and it's pretty freaking obvious that freshly cooked plate of meat isn't rotting. It also won't affect his health to have it in his vicinity. These are all just BS excuses. As a vegan, that genuinely pisses me off because he just wasted meat just to be a petty a-hole. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian of almost 20 years, This dude's just really dumb and trying to make a point. Not stay home. So your husband is a vegan and doesn't agree with eating meat, but surely by throwing your food away has now made it so the animal died for absolutely no reason, since you didn't get to eat it? Not only does he sound rude, controlling, condescending and obnoxious, he's also furthering the problem by wasting the meat that would have at least died for a reason if you'd been able to eat it. I absolutely hate people that force their way of life on others. I'm a vegetarian, but would never stop my husband eating meat because that's his choice. Not stay home, but kinda everyone sucks here. You definitely shouldn't have thrown out your dinner without asking if you're finished with it, and you understandably reacted poorly to it. But all of this is you both overreacting and being upset at something that should be a minor annoyance in a healthy relationship. I think you and your husband need to take this as a sign that there's something that's deeply wrong and needs to be discussed in private. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that she is the mediocre one? My wife and I are both highly educated people. We both have doctorates and several master's degrees, as well as being successful in our professional lives. We also have a son, Caleb, 18 male, who is our pride and joy. Throughout Caleb's life, my wife and I have had some disagreements about parenting. I'm someone who values my son being a well-rounded person, which means I don't want Caleb to just have good grades and I don't care if he doesn't get a perfect score. And my wife is someone who values grades and discipline. It has taken us a long time to find a balance between what me and my wife want. Caleb is in his first semester of law school. One of the requirements to graduate is to certify that you know the English language. Since Caleb already has a certification, he decided to pick up German as a fourth language. I advised him to maybe wait to third semester to start learning German, just to give himself time to get used to how university works, and also because he has history of pressuring himself a lot when studying. Caleb was adamant on starting now, so I didn't push the issue forward. He just finished his second evaluation and is not doing as well as he expected. He's doing, in my opinion, fine. 9 out of 10 in his first test and 8 out of 10 in his second one, but he is very upset with himself. I tried to console him and told him that if he wanted to, we could look for some private tutoring. But I also reassured him that for someone who has never spoken an ounce of German, he is doing amazing. My wife, on the other hand, is furious with Caleb. She told him that his grades are unacceptable and to start putting in more effort on his education. Caleb got even more upset and started crying. She tried to ground him for 2 weeks with no outings, but I didn't let her do so. So now she's mad with me. She says that my weak parenting is allowing our son to be mediocre, and that she didn't raise Caleb to be average. I got mad because our son is nor average nor mediocre, so I ask her how many languages she speaks. My wife answers 1, so I tell her that she really doesn't have a say on this particular issue, since out of the 3 of us, she's most likely the mediocre one in that department. She got even more furious, so now I'm sleeping on the couch until further notice. I think you're really messed up here, but got very mad with her for making our son cry, so I couldn't keep quiet. This is way beyond Reddit's pay grade. Not stay home, but you need to get your son some help or he's going to burn out, and it will be you and your wife's fault. Someone needs to advocate for him, and ASAP. This reminds me of that one meme, you ruined a perfect good ex. Look at it, it's got anxiety. Not stay home. Your son is 18 years old and your wife is still trying to ground him? For bad grades? He doesn't sound mediocre. Keep sticking up for your son. How is 8 out of 10 mediocre anyway? Mediocre would be 5 out of 10. In my opinion, those grades are not bad at all. His first test consisted of 50 questions and he was wrong on 6, so he got 9. The second test was 60 questions and he was wrong in 12, so he got 8. He's never had contact with the German language, so those marks are fantastic. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. Mostly your wife is the a-hole, but it sounds to me like you have been enabling her or not putting your foot down for far too long. I was considered prodigious in elementary school. I just learned to read in kindergarten and had a head start. And because of my overachieving parents, I was totally burnt out by high school. Beyond a certain point, this pressure will only make Caleb's grades fall even more, together with his mental health. Please get him a therapist and have a big sit-down talk with your wife about whether Caleb's achievements are honestly higher on the priority list than his health and happiness. Better yet, considering her mindset likely originated from her own upbringing, she would probably also benefit from therapy. After all, I'm sure she loves her child, just not the way he needs her to. Last story. Am I the a-hole for volunteering my boyfriend and his truck to help my brother and his wife move? My 24 female boyfriend of over 2 years, 27 male, owns a newer, full-sized truck. I think he sinks way too much of his income into it and should probably just drive a regular car since he just drives it back and forth to work and to do errands. But he loves it, and it's his baby. My older brother, 31 male, and his wife, 31 female, recently bought a house and are moving out of their apartment. I was at my parents' house with the two of them when they announced it to us. When I asked them when they were moving and they told me, I told them, well, hey, my boyfriend has his truck, which I'm sure will come in handy. I'll have to ask him, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind you using it and helping you out. They told me that this would be great. When I told my boyfriend about it, though, to say that he started grumbling would be an understatement. He started going on about how he didn't want to give up his Saturday to help my brother and his wife move, and how he didn't want to put that wear and tear on his truck. He said that people moving stuff in and out of his truck bed was likely to put scratches on it, and how I shouldn't have volunteered him at his truck without talking to him first. I told them that I'd have to ask him first, and that it was ultimately up to him. He responded that there was no way for him to say no to it without looking like an a-hole to my family. So I pretty much made it so that he had no real choice. I think he's been kind of a baby, honestly, and should just be happy to help. My brother actually helped my boyfriend get his current job, so my boyfriend kind of owes him one. But maybe I was a little presumptuous? What do you think? You're the a-hole. You can't do that for him. You should have said nothing and asked him first. If he now feels obliged to do it, you need to help. It's very hard work. People can only offer themselves to do something like that. I bet it doesn't tell his siblings that you're going to make a dinner for them and their 30 guests, because they helped you with the plan too. This. You should have just kept quiet, asked him, and then said, hey, my partner has a vehicle we can use. You put him in such a tight spot. Opie, you're the a-hole. I also love how Opie is super critical about the truck in the first paragraph, but as soon as it comes in handy, she volunteers it on his behalf. I say you're the a-hole. You pretty much volunteered someone else's time without asking them. Doesn't matter if it's family or not, it's still their day and not yours to give away. And let's be honest, moving sucks. And people can't back out. You pretty much backed him into a corner to not being able to say no without looking like a total a-hole to your family. Also, you really shouldn't talk so badly about how he spends his money on a hobby that he clearly enjoys. If his bills are paid, then what he does in his spare time that gives him joy then is not stupid. And note that there was no mention of paying for his time or even just gas. Laughing my butt off. Do any of these people realize your boyfriend wouldn't even have a job if it weren't for your brother? They are family. Like, how ungrateful. I'm 28, but it seems like everyone in the comments is so butthurt because of his precious Saturday and, oh my god, scratches. First of all, the scratches won't freaking happen. There are so many ways around this. Also, if you live in Southern California and you own a truck, you're pretty much a small member of Chad, especially if you don't even use it for its intended use. Like, I'd be embarrassed to be with someone who owns such a truck and doesn't actually use it for anything besides point A to B. Yes, moving sucks and helping people sucks, but you can help one day with your boyfriend. It could be fun and a bonding experience and when you need to move. Who's to say you won't need help too? Like, did everyone forget what family is? I completely agree. Volunteering someone isn't the greatest, but the boyfriend would be in the exact same situation of looking like an a-hole had a family ask him. And if you're worried about your truck bed getting scratched, then you don't need a truck. Or just put a sheet of plywood down first. Am I the a-hole for refusing to come clean and ruining my ex-husband's relationship? I, 42 female, divorced my ex-husband Chad, 42 male, for cheating with his current wife Rebecca, 30 female, a few years back. I'll spare the details, but basically something Chad did set off alarm bells. So I did some snooping and discovered a paper trail that led me to Rebecca. I was furious and hurt, but instead of confronting him about it then, I waited and collected evidence. I found Rebecca on social media and joined one of the online clubs she was in. We had the same interests, so it wouldn't be that big of a red flag if either Chad or Rebecca found out, and I just played it cool. I waited until after our youngest was in school so I could get a part-time job and got Chad to pay for my certification so I could get a better job. During this time, he would go on trips, book hotels, buy gifts, etc. with a secret account that I was able to access because I know Chad well enough to guess his passwords and that he only sets his alerts when someone tries to use it. After I had moved certain things out of the house without his knowledge and convinced him to take his name off of my car, I handed him the divorce papers of the hotel lobby he was in waiting for Rebecca. I had tons of pictures of them together, but only showed 3 of them when he tried to deny, and 2 more to his family when he tried to send them after me. Chad was up for a big promotion, so I told him that we could either get this divorce over with, or I could kick up a fuss, which would make his employers reconsider his position. After I made it clear that I didn't want any alimony and that he could keep his retirement, we went our separate ways. Shortly after that, Rebecca got pregnant and they got married, and she aggravates to no end. But since my kids never complained, I was willing to just suck it up. Then recently, Rebecca decided to get a little arrogant and publicly criticized my parenting because my child didn't do so well at the end of the school year and how she'd raise her child to be smart. In the heat of the moment, along with some built-up anger, I lied and said it wasn't very smart of her to tip off the wife that she was the affair partner. Chad wasn't there, but his mom and sister were, and he called me that night to ask about it. He always wondered how I found out, and instead of telling the truth, I said that Rebecca was the one who tipped me off with the photos and told me when/where they'd be. And for some strange reason, Chad asked me to keep our kids for the whole summer, which I was willing to do in exchange for getting them on Christmas. I heard a few weeks later that Chad and Rebecca didn't have a very good summer. Rebecca has been messaging constantly about this, but if it doesn't have anything to do with my kids, I'm silent mode. I was talking to my brother about this, and he thinks that while it's understandable why I lied, that it was still wrong. But since I don't care about Rebecca or Chad, I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Should have taken his retirement and alimony. We were a strong middle class, and I wasn't out of work for that very long. The alimony wouldn't be much, and it puts as little as possible in his retirement, at least while we were married, and has never been much of a long-term saver. Plus, after pretending not to know for over a year, I was ready for it all to be over. Fighting for alimony would have just drawn it all out. Rebecca is fine with people lying. She cheerfully spread her legs for a man who was lying to another woman about their family life. So obviously she gets off on dishonesty. Since Rebecca loves it when people lie, she has nothing to complain about now. In fact, you're to be applauded for giving her life a much-needed missing zing around lies in a relationship. Not a-hole. I'm reminded of the post where the ex called the guy to her home during the time when the affair partner turned wife was in labor, and then sent the CCTV cam footage of him entering her place to his wife, asking whether he changed his clothes before holding his kid. Needless to say, everything exploded. Not the a-hole. They cheated. So of course they don't trust each other. She not only got with a married man, but is also criticizing you. Not fair. Yeah, when 2 cheaters get together, it never ends well. They both know what they were capable of, and there's never truly trust. A cheater leaving their partner doesn't mean the affair partner won. It just means there is a new job opening for a fair partner. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being very upset that my wife is helping her friend cheat on her husband? A while ago, my wife and her friend went on a weekend trip, which seemed fine. Turns out, the friend didn't really want to go on the trip. She was meeting a guy, her best friend, her soulmate. Apparently, these two have been messaging each other for years. My wife didn't know this, but obviously found out about it and told me. But she just ignored it because it wasn't our business. We didn't tell the husband. It was a weird WTF kind of thing. I do not know the husband at all. I barely know his friend. I was thinking, not my circus, not my monkeys. So here's the thing. The friend asked my wife to go on another trip and that she will pay, probably around $3,000, for the sole purpose of cheating on her husband again. My wife was gleefully ecstatic about going on a free trip. She will be the alibi for her friend cheating. Am I the a-hole for being outraged, feeling betrayed, feeling that our marriage is a freaking joke, and frankly wanting to end it? If her and the girls make such a farce of marriage and help each other out and cover for each other cheating, what the heck is our marriage? I am seriously considering telling my wife that she can make her own decisions, but they have consequences. And when she returns for the Bangfest cheating weekend, the locks will be changed, and the divorce papers will be pinned to the front door. Yep, 100%. Also tell the husband. Now. Cheaters suck and people who abet them are just as bad. Yeah, if your wife can help her friend cheat, seems fair you can tell the hubby. I wouldn't be surprised if his wife is already cheating on him, not the a-hole. So when the wife says going for a girls' trip with cheater, she goes alone. Maybe her girls' trip is a tryst as well. This was the first thing I thought. OP's wife's alibi is that she's helping a friend cheat. She wouldn't have been so honest if she were up to something. I'd let her go. While they're gone, change the lock, post the divorce papers on the door, have her stuff moved to a storage unit and leave key and address with divorce papers. And tell the friend's husband. Lol, OP can call wife on speaker with friend's husband present and ask, so how's the cheating going? My guess is it's a double date this time. What makes you think it was the last time? Dude, try this. Satiate my curiosity. Pretend to be cool with it for a single conversation. Tell her you're clearing your schedule to join her on this trip. Pretend to be excited about going in her free vacation. Shouldn't be an issue since the friend will be with her affair partner, right? If she gets weird about it, then you have bigger questions to ask. I think she might be throwing you a red herring. I think she's the cheater and has always been. Do you have any evidence from the friend that says otherwise? I think she set the stage to ease your suspicions for later trips. Logically, who pays $3,000 for a cover story? Or is your wife creating a believable scenario that explains why her trips is paid for? It's being paid for by the dude she's banging, brother. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the husband of a woman I hooked up with? Yes, I am the affair partner, but before you all bite my head off, hear me out. I, 28 male, hooked up with a woman, 30 female that I met at a bar one night. After a very long and stressful week at work, a coworker and I wanted to go work out some stress by having a few beers at a bar near work. It was late when we finally got out of work, and it was a Friday, so there was a bit of a crowd, but it wasn't packed. All I wanted to do was have a couple beers and go home. But almost as soon as we sat down at the bar, my coworker started talking to a group of women that were next to us. I didn't really participate, but I chimed in every now and then. Eventually, one of the women of the group came and sat next to me. We started talking, ignoring the rest of them. You might be asking, how could you not tell she was married? Didn't she wear a ring? No, she wasn't. It might sound weird, but I make sure to look so I can decide if I want something more with a woman or not. If I see a ring, I don't even try. You might also ask, did she hint at any sort of a relationship she might be in? No, we had basic conversations, like what we did for work or things we do in our free time. Finally, you might ask, did her friends try to separate us or hint at you to stop? Again, no. They all seemed to be happy for her smiling at us. Eventually, we went back to my house and hooked up that night. Now, you might say, oh, she was drunk, and she must have felt guilty or ashamed in the morning after. Nope. And I know that, because she asked for my number and left with a smile, and told me she would text me later. At this point, I just thought I had a fun night with a great woman. Later that day, we started texting pretty casually. For the next 2 weeks, we just texted back and forth. We made a date to go back to the bar and see each other again. We sat down at the bar for 2 drinks, and then she asked if I wanted to go back to her place. I, of course, said yes, and away we went. At her house, there were a few things that made me suspicious, but I put it in the back of my mind. There were small things like a man's coat and a pair of shoes at the door. What made me put it in the back of my mind was near the door was a bunch of pictures of her family, and there was none of her and a guy, so I thought it was maybe an ex or a male family member things. Things started to spark between us and we took it to the bedroom. She went into her bathroom and got ready, but I see her closet door was open and inside was a ton of men's clothes. So much so that it was obvious that a man lives here. I shouted in panic that I had called from work and I had to go. I apologized and got out of there. Every possible thought ran through my head, but it all came back to she must have been using me to cheat. At first, I didn't know what to do. I realized I hardly knew her. I didn't have any of her socials, and besides some texts throughout the day, we didn't call or FaceTime. All I knew was her name and where she worked, and that I needed to tell the guy what happened. I looked all over social media, but there was nothing. I went to her work's website and found out she gave me a false last name, and then found her and her husband on social media. At this point, I almost relented, thinking if I told him I might ruin a family. But I quickly came to my senses and messaged him. The message was, "Hi, you don't know me, but 2 weeks ago I slept with your wife. At the time, I did not know she was a married woman. Last night we made a date to go to the bar and ended up at your house. I noticed some of your things around the house and left as soon as it clicked in my brain that she was married. If you need me, reach me at my number." He hasn't messaged me back, but she and her friends have blown up my phone for the past 2 days, saying I'm wrecking a marriage. Morally, I think I'm in the right, but am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Lol, that's hilarious that they say you're wrecking her marriage. That's like getting a speeding ticket for going 100 miles per hour and blaming the cop for messing up your driving report. Not the a-hole, and good on you, brother. That's because your friends have likely cheated as well, but they keep that in their inner circle. They don't ever think some rando dude at the bar would ever out them. Her taking him back to her house and then claiming still he's wrecking a marriage is next level for the street psycho. I wish I could be there when she tries to convince the husband it's his fault. Not the a-hole. You are not wrecking the marriage. The possibly ex-wife is. Exactly. It's amazing how people justify and spin the truth to suit them. Not the a-hole. You did the right thing. If he trusted her, you saved him from wasting his time. I'm sure anyone would like a heads up that their significant others being unfaithful. She's the a-hole. Her friends are the a-holes. Although there may be two sides to every story. She still put you in harm's way. People get killed over stuff like this. At least you know he'll never catch you and shoot your head off your shoulders. I'd buy you a beer if I was him. Reminds me of that woman who was cheating on her husband, got caught, told her husband he was violating her, and the husband offed the guy. And because she lied, he didn't get convicted of a crime, but I think/hope she did. You mean the husband walked in on them? Or he went out, found a guy, and offed him? The story I remember is he showed up at home unexpectedly, and his wife was nagging the dude in front of the house in front of the affair guy's truck. The husband walked up and saw, and in a panic, she yelled she was being violated and jumped off the guy, who was then promptly fatally shot by husband who thought he was defending his wife. Last story. My sister told me that she and my fiancé were having an affair before his death. So about a month ago, my 25 female fiancé, 27 male, had unfortunately gotten killed in a car crash. It was devastating for everyone, especially since me and him were going to have our wedding in September of this year and was planning on buying a new house together next year. It was like everything I had dreamed of had come true before it all came crashing down. Of course, I haven't been taking it well and just been staying in bed, not wanting to talk to anyone, on some occasions drinking myself to sleep. But today, my friends had managed to give me the courage to finally go outside after nearly 4 weeks of just staying indoors. I'll admit, I wasn't looking forward to it, but I did have a good time with them, and even got a smile on my face for the first time ever since my fiancé's death. But when I came back home and walked into the living room, that's when I saw my sister, 22 female, in my wedding dress. Music playing in the background while she was looking at herself in the mirror with obvious tears down her face. When she noticed me, immediately she screamed at me to get out. But I stood my ground and refused until she explained herself. That's when she broke down and told me that before my fiancé's death, her and him had been having an affair and that they were planning on running away together before the wedding. When she told me all of that, I started to have a panic attack and ran to lock myself in my room. She did try and get me out so she could explain herself more, but what on earth is there more to explain? I feel sick even writing this, to be honest. I don't want to look at her. I don't want anything to do with her, and all I've been doing is crying all day. This year has honestly been the worst in my entire life, and I seriously don't know what to do. Hold on, don't just believe her immediately. Try to get some proof first, otherwise she is just slandering him. That part. Go through his phone. This affair could have been one-sided. I wouldn't just take her word for it. This. I had a friend who was dating someone for 2 to 3 months without that person knowing. Oh word, my manager fired a guy because he was going around telling everyone he had been sleeping with me for years and that my then girlfriend at the time had stolen me from him. Spoiler alert, he was a lunatic. Not the a-hole. I am so sorry that happened to you. There could also be another side of this story that maybe she was in love with your fiancé and those feelings were not reciprocated. He's no longer here to defend himself. Before I would fully believe her that he betrayed you, I would look through his phone for proof. I don't know that I would believe anything she says without actual proof. If it's not on his devices, surely would be on hers. Definitely tell your parents ASAP and go no contact with her regardless. Just to play devil's advocate, it's still possible that maybe she had a thing for him and those feelings were a one-way thing. I don't have his phone with him unfortunately, but I'm not sure how I'd be able to gain access to her phone as it has a password. The no contact part would be very hard to do, to be honest, since we've been close to each other since the beginning, and I still love her. But at the same time, I still just want to hurt her for what she had told me. You really should try and find proof before you fully believe her. Ask her for it directly. If she doesn't want to show it to you, then that's enough of an indication that what she's saying is likely not true. Think about the situation. She's standing in your wedding dress looking at herself in a mirror and then tells you how they wanted to run away and get married. It doesn't sound realistic. Why would they be running away? Coincidental as well that they would be getting married, etc. Just don't trust what she's saying just because they were close. He might have just been kind to her as she's your sister, and she probably hoped for more. Am I the a-hole for kicking my ex-boyfriend out after he euthanized my dog? To get started, I mid-20s have been with my ex-boyfriend late 20s for about 1.5 years, and he moved in with me a few months ago. Anyways, I have had a senior chihuahua since or cinnamon for the last 15 years of my life. She was my whole world because she was part of key moments growing up in my life. I have a very difficult job to get time off, and about a week ago I noticed Sinsen had a lump on her middle stomach area and got a vet appointment as soon as possible. I wasn't able to get time off to take her, so I asked boyfriend to take her and he agreed. I gave him my card to get whatever test they needed to do. I told him to call me when he found out anything. I took a late lunch to give him a call. I called him and no answer. Okay, maybe he's still at the vet doing tests. I got home at around 6 p.m. and he was in the living room kind of just sitting there with the TV on. He asked what the vet said and where Sinsen was. He didn't really look at me. He told me the vet said it was cancer and it wasn't going to get better, and he had them put Sinsen down to prevent suffering. I froze. I didn't understand what he was saying to me, and I only managed to get out, "You what?" And he repeated what he said. I started screaming/sobbing at him. He got defensive, saying that what he did was for the best. I screamed at him to get out now, and after some more choice words, he sped off in his car. I don't want to get into what happened after I left, and it's still so hard to top out now. In the morning, I had a bunch of texts and calls from him. I didn't respond. I emptied out some plastic storage tubs and started packing all of his items. After I was finished, I put the tubs on the side of the house by the garage and texted him to collect his stuff. He arrived about an hour later and was banging on the door saying I was being dramatic and it was just a dog. I think he's going to be staying with his parents, but I'm not sure. I managed to get hold of the vet, and by some miracle, they hadn't gotten rid of the toxic waste yet, and I was able to get Sinsen cremated. I go to pick her up in a couple days. I can't stop thinking about if what I did was right. I can't forgive X for what he did, but maybe I went a little crazy kicking him out right there and then. So am I the a-hole for kicking him out and putting his stuff outside? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It was just a dog. I would love to see your Rex explain that to John Wick. I felt like I could go John Wick on him. Me and my closest friends and family are having a little goodbye party for Sinsen when I get her back. I am so very sorry for you. The worst health decisions I've ever had to make regarding my dogs have revolved around cancer. I just can't believe that he made that decision without even bothering to talk to you. I'd say that you dodged a bullet with regards to your boyfriend. He told you a whole lot about himself. Good for you for kicking him out ASAP. Godspeed, Sinsen. You're a beloved friend and you will be missed. Not stay home. This is freaking garbage. He absolutely should have contacted you before he made a decision. There would have been no reason to rush and do it when you couldn't be there. Even if your pet was in pain, a veterinarian could have prescribed meds to keep Cinnamon comfortable until you could say goodbye. This man has no heart. Let him leave. Just a dog is bullcrap. Sounds like he was jealous of the dog. The cancer diagnosis was shocking to me. Yes, Simpson was getting up there in age, but she was still eating, /drinking, /going potty, /being normal since I found a lump. The vet confirmed with me when I called that it was a fast-acting cancer, but she could have gotten pain medicine for at least a couple weeks until she started getting uncomfortable. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for sending his family a picture of our newborn? Me, female 27, and Phil, male 32, have been married for 3 years. We both have families who want to be first and everything. Phil read me an article about boundaries and encouraged me to set boundaries for both families. I agreed, and we made progress. As the birth of our son approached, we handled the family's requests. Both moms wanted to be in the room. We said no. Both dads wanted the first photo with the baby, but we said no till they agree. Both families wanted to be at the hospital to see our son, but we said no, then agreed to host a gathering on Tuesday, where both families get to see our son at the same time for the first time. No pictures, posts, or video calls till then, since I needed to recover. Everything was going well. It started when Phil secretly took a picture of our son and sent it to his family. It blew up. Everyone tagged everyone on Facebook. Mom and family saw not only the picture, but posts my in-laws made saying we won in the end, or our grandson chose us, and 1-0. Then mother-in-law lied about taking the picture herself at the hospital. Mom called crying, saying Phil leaked and shared picture of our son and violated the agreement both families had. Dad said that on top of the defeat, they had to deal with the propaganda and emotional stress from in-laws. I was fuming. I asked Phil if he sent his family a picture of our son hours ago. He said, jokingly, yesn't. I blew up at him saying we had an agreement. And me and family respected it, but he and family on the other hand were humiliating my family, ruining their joy, and rubbing the fact that they got to be the first to see our son in their face. He said, so what? A family should quit being overdramatic when things don't go their way. I said his family are the ones with the overdramatic, passive-aggressive attitude. I showed him every post and tag they made, and asked if he'd be happy if my family did this. He scrolled for a couple minutes nodding and looking impressed. He said all he did was innocently send Mom a picture since she wouldn't stop calling, hassling, and begging him for one picture. I said he still violated our agreement to not share photos till Tuesday, and this way his family will never respect the boundaries we try to set. I asked if those boundaries were just for my family to keep them at arm's length while obviously favoring his. He said, that's my son. I have the authority to send a picture of him to whomever I please, okay? Your family? The entire lot of them can either shut the hell up and get over it, or wait for your sister to miraculously give them a baby. We argued some more, and I refused to drop it. He said I overreacted, blew his joy, and made a big deal out of it just because my family has nothing better to do than cry woe is me, and wrapped up by saying it clearly was enmeshed, too deep in the fog and needed to cut the damn cord already. I'm thinking I might have been harsh. Am I the a-hole? Context. Phil doesn't have the best relationship with my family. He thinks they are controlling, and tries to exclude them from events while letting his family get involved in everything. He's not always home due to work at the local police department, but he still controls what events my family should/shouldn't attend. Also, my sister is infertile. The way Phil said miraculously hurt me on her behalf. Not the a-hole. For the record, I think both families, including you and your husband, making a competition out of baby milestones is really dumb. This is a child here, not a badminton tournament. Posts my in-laws made saying we won in the end, or our grandson chose us, and 1-0. This is so messed up, and shows they have no concept of your son as a human being. I didn't read the post that Opie and husband made it into a competition. I felt like their parents did that on their own. But otherwise, I agree with your comment. The grandparents are vile and unhinged. The husband is dismissive of Opie, who is, reasonably, upset that a boundary was violated. And the entitlement of the husband to break this boundary because of a sense of ownership over the son/photos is gross. Poor Opie, but what on earth is wrong with all the people in her life? Honestly, I'd be beyond pissed. Glad you're so happy they got to see the picture first. I need some time away from you. Me and the baby are going to stay with my parents for a while. If he thinks Opie should be happy about his parents gloating about being chosen, then I'm sure he will just be thrilled that Opie's parents get to spend so much time with the baby. Maybe I'm doing petty revenge here, but if my hubby acted like that, first chance I'd get, I'd pack up some stuff and take my kid to my family for a few days and post pictures of them on Facebook. Let my kid meet my family, as I would not let my partner get away with talking to me like that. Edit to add, I thought I'd do an edit. I am not encouraging Opie to take and disappear with her baby forever. Can't believe I need to clarify this. But Opie needs to sit down and think, is this as toxic as it sounds to a lot of us? I would also like to say, I'd only encourage anyone to take their child on a permanent basis if the child was in danger. Then I'd say go to a women's hostel, etc. Have you spoke to your husband about his controlling ways? Is your family controlling as your husband seems to think they are? Have they exhibited any worrying behavior? Also, ignore any trolls. I actually thought about doing that, especially after how he talked about my family. He even stopped me from sending them a picture later. Next story. Am I the a-hole for backing out of cooking for my dear husband's guest after he told me, do your job? My husband and I both work, equal hours. I'm a hairstylist working at a salon, and he's a warehouse manager. My mother-in-law is very old-fashioned and lives in the 1950s still. She said women can't stop taking care of their households as a priority, no matter what they achieve. I hated this, and it caused endless problems between us. My husband learned to do everything from folding his clothes to fixing the toilet, except cooking. His mom taught him that his future wife should do everything, so he didn't have to learn. He defended me against her and cut contact with her. She hasn't participated in a gathering since 2015 due to family not wanting her around. My husband cleans while I cook, but he tends to complain from time to time and throw some weird beliefs/opinions at me that are similar to what his mom thinks. I get it since he's been raised by her, and this mentality takes time to go away. Last week he had guests over and asked me to help him host dinner. We agreed that I'd cook and he clean like always. Guests arrived and my husband sat with them while I was at the kitchen cooking. I had issues with the oven. I was running late and dinner wasn't ready yet. My husband rushed into the kitchen asking why dinner wasn't ready yet. I said I'd be done soon. He grabbed a few glasses while pressuring me to hurry up. I made a comment about how I didn't even get to meet his guests and how unfair it was, but he just casually said, just do your job, and rushed out. I was shocked. I stopped him and asked, what did you just say to me? He looked at me quizzically. I turned the oven off and stopped cooking. He was freaking out saying, no, wait, what are you doing? While I take my apron off. I said I don't work for him to tell me to do my job, and he should take over cooking if he thought I was slow. He begged me not to do this to him, and explained he didn't mean to tell me to do my job, but only spoke this way since he's used to say stuff like that at work and wasn't paying attention. I refused to continue cooking, and went upstairs to wash the smell of onion off me. I left him in the kitchen to handle serving dinner on his own, and he came upstairs 2 hours later after the guests left and looked an absolute mess. Hair messed up, and a shirt stained. He asked if I was happy and proud of proving a point by backing out of cooking last minute, just because he slipped and accidentally said, do your job. I told him that he's an adult and is responsible for what comes out his mouth, accidental or not. And again said I didn't have to cook for his guests and that I only volunteered to help, and he sounded like his mother with what he said. He said it wasn't true, and that he was disappointed because I didn't stick to my word and left him to fend for himself and embarrassed him in front of guests by giving them half-cooked meals over something so dumb. He walked out after changing his clothes and called me mean. He wants an apology for backing out last minute knowing he can't cook. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's past time for him to learn to cook. Because it's not your job. He owes you an apology. Also show him this post. Exactly, it is not her job. He should be the one apologizing, not Opie. Not the a-hole. Good for you for not putting up with your husband's crap. There is a fundamental truth in your relationship. You know how to cook and he doesn't. That means that when it comes to cooking, you have a value. He doesn't. And as you just showed him, you are in a position of power. He needs to appreciate what you do for him, not take it for granted and bark out orders to you. I will say this. He will remember this lesson. If you had backed down at the last minute, he would have taken it as you would back down if he pushed you hard enough. Now he knows you mean business, and you will not be pushed around, and you will not be treated like a servant. A marriage is a partnership, not a corporation where one person is a boss. The correct way for him to act is to show you gratitude for the efforts you put into that night's gathering. Hello. Yes, I agree with your opinion. Also, I admit I'm the type that gets easily offended. So yeah, I might have went a bit over the top. Not today, home. Just because he accidentally said what he was pretty obviously thinking. Right. And then he has the nerve to be more worried about saving face in front of his buddies than mistreating his own wife. So he blames you. He is the problem here. Now for the last story. My boyfriend and I talked about salary for the first time, and he feels upset I was hiding mine. I have been dating Joey for 7 months, and I never felt like I was trying to hide how much money I make. I do engineering, and I'm making $130,000 salary. It's pretty standard for people who do what I do with my experience. My friends in the same industry make similar money. My day-to-day life isn't too flashy. I have a small apartment that I pay $700 monthly rent for. My hobbies are mostly athletics that don't require a lot of money past the initial gear cost. I ride my bicycle or rollerblades almost everywhere, for fitness, instead of driving most days. My car is 10 years old, and I really only use it for heavy errands or trips out of town. I enjoy thrift shopping and secondhand sales, because I don't think fast fashion or overconsumption is cool. When I travel, I like camping at campgrounds or staying at hostels, for the social aspect. Overall, I don't live a very flashy life, and I feel like status symbol belongings are super tacky. During my relationship with Joey, we shared our interests. I invited him to try the hobbies I live, like camping and swimming, going out with friends, etc. We didn't talk a lot about money past the day-to-day stuff like picking a restaurant and having offhand comments like, "Let's go here. They have 250 beers and half-off burger sale." This month, when Joey asked me to show him how to get set up with the budgeting software I use, I thought I'd start by showing him how I use mine and some of its features. But when I was showing him the tool, he was really surprised to see I had $110,000 in investments, another $50,000 in savings, no debt, at a high salary. He asked me why I had been hiding that, and I said I didn't think I was. He said that he felt I was, for a number of reasons. I will make choices about what to eat and drink while out based on the deals. I will stay in cheap hostels or campgrounds when traveling to save money. I've often said that something isn't in the budget for me this month, but I could see if I could budget for it in the future. Which is true. I budget ahead of time and keep myself to that, to resist the urge to throw money around on impulse. Having to work it into a budget makes me a lot more thoughtful. It felt like all of that was disingenuous. That I didn't need to act like a sandwich that was $12 was way too much. That I didn't have to book the crappiest accommodations. That I didn't have to budget and prepare for a month for unexpected expenses. I felt like I was being honest and tried to explain that to him. That I was just living life like normal and not trying to hide anything. It felt like I was keeping a big secret. Am I the a-hole for having hidden/not talked about my financial situation earlier? Not the a-hole. He hasn't even been dating you a year, and you don't live together. He has no reasonable expectation to know how much you earn, much less judge your spending habits. Good on you for being frugal. Jumping onto top comment to say, I'm pretty sure Joey isn't mad at Opie for acting frugal. To be honest, I think he just wanted to spend Opie's money. I guarantee next time they go out to eat, he's going to want Opie to pay, and is going to get steak or something. Honestly, if you do look past this Opie and stay with him long term, I wouldn't trust him with my finances, or at least keep finances separate. Not stay home. Not his money, not his concern.